to think of myself as a very loyal person. I am a Cancer, so that means we are just inherently, like, loyalty is our strongest quality. And my loyalty doesn't even go only towards relationships and friendships and family. It goes beyond that. It goes straight to parasocial relationships, specifically Taylor Swift. I am an incredibly loyal fan, probably to the point of insanity, but there's nothing I can do about it now. I feel like I'm in too deep. So today I thought I would take it upon myself to be a loyal servant, a public servant, and share my knowledge on Swiftology to you and tell you everything there is to know about Taylor Swift. Call it a Taylor Swift crash course. I have been a fan since probably 2009, and I've done it all. I mean, I've done the fan accounts, the fan pages, the concerts, the merch. I'm literally wearing it right now, and it is a little bit insane, but there's a lot to cover. And today's episode is specifically targeted towards, anyone who wants to know about Taylor Swift, and, maybe their girlfriend is an insane Swiftie and he kind of just wants to stay up to date. Then this is a great episode for him. That being said, this is really for my boyfriend, so he can really have a good grasp on why I am the way that I am. So this episode might have to be broken up into 2 episodes because this is a lot. I mean, I'm starting from the beginning. I'm not going into okay, here's what this is going to cover. It's going to cover the drama, the alleged who is this song about boyfriends, the Kanye West and Kim Kardashian drama, why she's doing the re-records, why we don't maybe like certain people, and why Swifties don't like certain people because of how, mean they were. It's like whenever you're you don't like your ex's or your best friend's ex because they hurt your best friend. That's how it is for me personally with Taylor Swift. I'm like, you hate them? Okay, so do I. Just right on the bandwagon. But for the most part, they're pretty valid reasons because these people did really mean things. So, this is going to cover all of the you need to knows. And let's just get into it. So from the beginning, you have her debut album that came out in 2006, 2007, I think. And these are just a combination of songs that she wrote when she was 16 and younger. So in terms of who's this song about, there's not really much going on because it's people that she dated middle school, maybe high school even, or maybe possibly even younger than that. So it's kind of just it's her first album, and the single that kind of got her started was called Tim McGraw. You've probably heard it before. And this album was made under the record label that she was with up until 2016, 2017-ish. That's important to note. It's called Big Machine Records. She was his first client. His name's Scott Borchetta. Remember that. And he signed her, and he was just starting out. And so she was taking a big leap trying to start a career with a record label who had no prior experience. But she's a good person, and she was he believes in me and I believe in him, and so we're going to do this. So basically her career took off and made his record label what it is today. I mean, he, last time I checked, has Little Big Town on that record label, and like a bunch of other really big country names. In terms of like, who we know, like I said earlier, it's all before she was super famous and dating people like we know today, actors and other singers and everything like that. She like name drops one name in Teardrops on My Guitar, Drew, which we later found out was like, she's talked about like in her early career, she was more open to talk about the song and who it's about, but never really saying who it really is about, but definitely more open about it than she is now. Here's a very, very big part that we'll discuss later. Because she signed with this record label, she was very young too, but she signed, I don't know exactly how many years it was, but she had to re-sign every like couple of years. And she technically did not own her music, her masters, what she was putting out. She was getting revenue from it because it was her work, but she didn't own them. She couldn't just like, whenever a TV show or a movie wanted to use one of her songs, like her record label had to approve it basically. And so this is really important because later, when, shocker, spoiler alert, she doesn't own them anymore, that's going to be really important for you to remember. In this moment, she does not own her music. And she knows this, but it's just like a part of the deal. The logistics kind of confuse me, but just know she doesn't own them. She makes money from them, but she doesn't own them. So that's kind of the beginning. Then we move on to her second album, Fearless. Very, very popular. This is where Love Story comes from. Arguably one of her biggest songs ever. And this is where her career really takes off. This album is the catalyst for her career. Fun fact, she wrote Love Story when she was like 13, and it was about like how she wanted to date this guy, and her parents were like, absolutely not. She went in her room, and then like 20 minutes later came out with the hit Love Story. This is also one of the first albums. This is actually the first album where we know who some of the songs are about, or at least we assume, because she had been in the industry for a while and she dated Joe Jonas. This is kind of where the first drama and focusing mainly on her love life instead of her music. So now this is kind of where the jokes begin, because we know these men that she's dating, and she writes songs about them. Like, that's her thing, is being a storyteller. And so when she tells these really detailed and personal stories about her love life, never saying their names actually, people will speculate. And because we don't know, like, people like to know things, and there's this whole debate on like, if your celebrity is like, does that mean that you chose to be a celebrity so your privacy can just be invaded and your personal life is our public knowledge? I don't really agree with that, but that's kind of where this started. A recurring theme is like each album, and I don't like to say this, but each album is kind of like a certain boyfriend's album, even though there are albums where it's like there's multiple songs written about like different experiences with different guys, just like from the past. But Fearless is known as like among the fans as the like Joe Jonas album. And then Speak Now is John Mayer, and then Red is Jake Gyllenhaal. 1989 is like Harry Styles, but we're going to get into that later. But there's not much else to say besides this just being like a time where she became a household name. This is also the time where the infamous VMAs 2009 incident happened, whenever Kanye West interrupted her accepting a award for Video of the Year for You Belong With Me. Kanye got up on stage and he was drunk. He later revealed that he jumped up on stage and took the microphone from her and said Beyonce should have won the best Video of the Year. And at the time, she was dating Taylor Lautner. Taylor was, and he was on stage with her, and they were publicly dating, like everyone knew they were dating. And recently we found out that Taylor Lautner at the time thought that it was like scripted, like he was like, because he didn't do anything, he just like, just stood back and like watched it happen, but it wasn't scripted. And the whole crowd was booing. And whenever she released her documentary a couple years ago, she was talking about it, and she in that moment thought that the crowd was booing her because she's still new into her career. And so obviously, and he had been in the industry for a while, and so she thought the entire like crowd was booing her. So you can imagine what that does to a 18-year-old girl, 17-year-old girl who is like new into the industry, and there's people in the crowd that she admires and draws inspiration from. So that, I can't even imagine what that felt like. So he does that. He gets off stage, and she's like, what just happened? Later, Beyonce wins an award and invites Taylor to come up on stage and finish her speech. So no bad blood between Taylor and Beyonce, I don't think, ever, not to my knowledge, not to my Swiftology degree. So this is the villain origin story. This is where the beginning of all of the Kanye West drama begins, because of his actions. So obviously this doesn't happen very often. So everyone was talking about it. It was huge. Social media wasn't as big back then, but I mean, you have like entertainment news on the TV, and just everyone was talking about it. Taylor later touches on this moment in her song Back to December on her Speak Now album, in the line, "Back to that September night, the first time you ever saw me cry," and the VMAs happened in September. So that's kind of an insight to their relationship during that time. Like that, she obviously cried. I would have sobbed actually on stage, but she kept it together. So this is now segue into Speak Now, her third studio album, and arguably her best, or at least one of her best. She's now several years into her career, and she's starting to find her place and how to deal with the media and the haters and the commentary. So this is also post Kanye interaction, aka the villain origin story. It was the beginning of the end, some may say. So she releases this album, once again, the quote-unquote John Mayer album, even though I feel like that kind of takes away from her artistry and all the other songs that aren't about John Mayer and applying to all the other albums. But this is where we get the song Dear John. Now, this is after, like, obviously they had broken up, and John Mayer was 32 whenever he was dating Taylor, and she was 18. Not ideal. Legal, but morally incorrect. So this is the song we need to like majorly discuss, because this is why, like, when I tell people I hate John Mayer, it's like, oh, are you a Taylor Swift fan? It's like, yeah, I am. But I have my reasons. I mean, is it really fair for me to hate him? No, but because I don't know him. But like the details we've gotten that we can kind of interpret throughout her songs makes me hate him for what he did. First example is the song Dear John. Now, Dear John is known as a love letter written typically by a wife to her husband or to her lover who was off fighting in the war or going off to the military. It's a Dear John letter. There's literally a movie called Dear John. And so she was kind of able to get away with this because John Mayer tried suing Taylor because I think maybe it was like defamation on his name and his career. But there was no proof that that song was actually about him because of that double meaning to it. So obviously she's never actually explicitly ever said who this song is about, except for Teardrops on My Guitar. She said that it was like about this guy she dated in high school or wanted to date in high school. This song is kind of an insight to their relationship and how it was just an exhausting relationship. Like, she was constantly trying to ace these tests that he was giving her and like playing these games, and she just never knew what she was going to get from him when she woke up that morning. Like, it was just a constant battle to try and please him. And remember, she's 18 and he's a grown adult, 32, like full adult. And so, yes, while it's legal, it's barely legal, morally illegal. And that's kind of where that starts, because we get this really long and passionate song about how she's just pissed. She's like, I tried to do everything you wanted me to do, but it was just never enough. And she later writes songs about him, just a few, notably Would've, Could've, Should've, on the Midnight's album that was recently released last year. The one line that kills me is, "Give me back my girlhood, it was mine first." So he kind of took this innocence away from her. At 18, you don't know anything. I mean, you don't really know anything until, I would argue, like your late 20s. And so he was 32. He knew what he was doing. He was very aware, but she's kind of just like, she's 18. She's still completely developing. She just got the right to vote. So there's that. And then the next example of how there's albums where it'll be about like different guys. It's not just like all of the songs are about John Mayer, all the songs about Harry Styles. Like there's multiple songs with, arguably different guys. Next, we have Better Than Revenge. We assume it's about Joe Jonas and how he dated a girl really soon after they had broken up. And she was pretty public about this breakup, because on Ellen, she was talking about hinting how a guy broke up with her over the phone on voicemail. And she just took that and she ran with it. She was, I would argue, ruthless during this time. And rightfully so. I would be too. I'd be pretty pissed. I'd be like, you want to know what? If everyone wants to keep pestering me about who's this song about, I'm just going to not say it, but I'm just going to take it and I'm going to run with it. So she wrote the song Better Than Revenge. And she got the impression that this girl kind of stole Joe from her, which is totally normal behavior. It's really easy to blame women, especially whenever it's involves, whenever, say, your boyfriend cheats on you and it's like, fuck her, how could she do this, what a whore, just all these name calling names that just are terrible things to say, because it's just she should have known better, how could she do this, I'm gonna get revenge on her. But then it's just the guy's just do, but I feel we're starting to move past that as a society. Because of this feeling Taylor had, we got the iconic lines, "Soon she's gonna find stealing other people's toys on the playground won't make her many friends." And she's an actress. She's better known for the things that she does on the mattress, which is just a wild line. It's just an insane, unhinged, outlandish behavior line that I love. But it also kind of goes against feminism in a way that I don't mind. But she later changed it in her version of Speak Now, and changed it to "He was a moth, she was holding the flames to the matches," because it aligned more with her more mature feminist views as a 33-year-old whenever she was re-recording this. Then we have Innocent, still on the same album. This song, arguably, we assume is about the Kanye West interaction. This is her saying listen, it's okay, we all make mistakes. You're 32, you're still growing up, and I forgive you. Don't worry about it. Just her being a good human. And I don't even know if he even apologized. And if he did, well, that's good. I just don't really know how maybe sincere it was. But she basically was just hey, listen, no hard feelings. It sucked, but just try and do better. So she's trying to not have any beef with anyone in this industry, really. And she's kind of try and do better. And she kind of still has this attitude until he just later we'll get into it, but later just completely ruins everything she was trying to do, which is just trying to be on good terms. They don't need to be besties, but just do better. Just trying to be indifferent to each other. Some other notes about this album: she wrote it completely by herself, no co-writers, because everyone in the media and the haters were she's not writing these songs. She doesn't write these songs. People are writing them for her. And that's really a terrible thing to say whenever it's kind of just taking away from her hard work. Whenever you are putting something out and it's just like, they didn't actually do that. Someone else did that and she's just putting her name on it. Like, that's a shitty thing. Whenever you write these songs that are so personal and then someone else just kind of taking away the significance of it. And so she was like, all right, well, then I'll write an entire album by myself. And this is also where we got the song Mean, where it's about her expressing like the feelings that she got whenever there was this big critic who just slammed on her and was like, she doesn't write her own songs. She's a bad singer. She just not a great review. And it's basically just saying like, why you gotta be so mean? Like, basically it's like a good, like, you know, bullying prevention song. And then she won a Grammy for it. So, and she even said that like in her speech when she was accepting it, she was like, there's nothing better than someone bullying you online and then writing a song about it and winning a Grammy for it. So just still this unhinged behavior that I love so dearly from her. So that's Speak Now. That's the Speak Now era. Then we move on to Red, which is her 4th studio album, still with Big Machine Records. Okay. This is still country, but this is also where she's kind of experimenting with more pop music and lyrics and melodies and things like that. So once again, she's still on this career high. This is where we get 22 and We Are Never Getting Back Together, All Too Well. Just the iconic songs that everyone arguably knows. Like 22, the first thing you probably think of probably is the Taylor Swift song 22. Like, it's just such a huge song and it's her song. Then we have I Knew You Were Trouble. Once again, a giant song, like a huge, definitely overplayed song. And people were saying it's about Harry Styles, but her and Harry Styles were kind of dating like 2012, which is like the timing just like didn't really add up. However, the I Knew You Were Trouble music video was kind of giving some hints that like were about Harry Styles. For example, Harry Styles had this necklace that had a paper airplane on it, and then she was later seen wearing it during the time that they were dating. And so in the music video, she's wearing something like a similar necklace. So we don't really know. It could have been written about like just someone in general, but then later, whenever the music video was, you know, after Red was released, maybe that's like, she was like, this could also apply to him. We will never know. I really do hope one day she releases like a memoir, just unleashing every detail, kind of like an Evelyn Hugo's-esque, like it's a book. I don't know if you get the reference. If you know, you know. We need to take a minute and talk about the song All Too Well. This song, this album, remember how I was saying, you know, the boyfriends, this is the Jake Gyllenhaal, you know, get ready, choose your fighter album. And All Too Well is one of her more, it's kind of similar to Dear John, where it really takes you through the story of their relationship. But All Too Well just really gets personal because it's talking also about, you know, his childhood and just a lot of really specific details. It's kind of, this song is meant to show how like maybe there was a little bit of gaslighting involved. And she's like, the recurring lyric is, I remember you were there. You remember it all too well. I remember it. It was rare. Like, you were there. I remember it and you remember it. Just saying that like over and over again, because who knows, maybe he was just like, you know, kind of trying to gaslight her and be like, oh, it wasn't like that. It wasn't, you know, we didn't have this kind of connection. Like, just the typical toxic behavior things. The interesting, noteworthy part is in an interview during the Red era, she mentioned how the song kind of started out as like a 10-minute song. And at that time, she was like, I can't put out a 10-minute song. So she had to cut it down to like 5 minutes or something like that, or like 6 minutes. And when she said that, fans never stopped pestering her for the 10-minute version until later when we got it in her version, when she re-released it, which we're going to get into the whole the re-recordings. So that's an important thing. That's where the so-called hatred for Jake Gyllenhaal comes in. It's just this gut-wrenching song, arguably her best bridge, saying, "You call me up again just to break me like a promise. So casually cruel in the name of being honest. I'm a crumbled up piece of paper lying here because I remember it all too well." Let's keep in mind she was 22 when she wrote that. I'm 23 and I could never, ever even imagine thinking of anything like that. So now we enter her 1989 era. This is when she moved to New York. This is when she's getting to the city life. She's like, I'm single, I'm sufficient. I'm going to write an album and really talk about my friends and maybe throw in a couple love songs in there. But this was her way of kind of proving to the media, like, oh, you're saying I write too much about my love life? Okay, now I'll write an album about moving to the city and having friends and spending time with my girlfriends. She talks about it a little bit later on, kind of in her post-Reputation era, and she's talking about how she spent so much of her career kind of just trying to prove to people, like, okay, you don't want me to write a song about, or you don't want me to write about an album about all my boyfriends? Okay, here's an album about me and my friends. I'm sharing too much? Okay, I'll go away. So I just can't imagine how exhausting that must have been. So 1989 was her first official pop album where it was like directly labeled pop. Red is like on the cusp. It's like a country pop. Definitely not as country as her first debut album was. This is where we get her lead single, Shake It Off. Truly iconic. This was her basically telling the haters to fuck off. And also about how at award shows, people would be like online trolling her because of her dancing, which is so ridiculous because it's like she's not a dancer, she's a singer, and she's just trying to have fun and sing along and support these other artists that are performing, and she's getting ridiculed for it. It's like, this poor girl, she just can't win. It's like anything she does, people are going to hate on her for. People are also saying that her excitement at award shows were fake, and which is just so crazy. It's just like I just remember people online always saying her reaction to winning awards was fake. And it's like, come on, like you knew you were going to win. Like that reaction's so fake because she was so excited about it, which I think is insane. I think that if you believe that, you are an insane person because it's like, I don't know. That just makes me upset. It makes me a little bit mad. So this is the quote unquote Harry Styles album, even though the bulk of this album is trying to talk about how, she is living this life in the city with friends and it doesn't just have to be always all about boys. But this is where we get Out of the Woods and Style in Wonderland. Once again, all up for interpretation. We don't really know, but we have some pretty heavy evidence that these songs are about Harry Styles. During the time, that was also when Harry Styles was really big in One Direction, the band he was in. And I think I liked that relationship back then, but I don't really know. Like, I wouldn't be mad if they dated, but I also think that they're probably just better off as friends. I don't really like to speak too much about her personal relationships, which kind of sounds like contradictory to everything I just said, but a big part of her career is talking about her love life and telling these really personal stories. So then we also have Wildest Dreams, which is arguably about this one co-star she had when she was on set for the movie The Giver. Again, how it's not just all about like Harry Styles or all about Jake Gyllenhaal. Like there's different songs about different guys in relationships on one album. That's important to know because everyone's just like, oh, it's the Harry Styles album. Okay, well, she's also talking about some other dude. So how about you pipe down a little bit? This is also a time where, like I mentioned earlier, her girl boss, the Swift Squad term came into play through the media. She had the Bad Blood music video where she had all of her friends in the music video. And I mean, everyone was in it. Zendaya was in it. Cara Delevingne, Selena Gomez, Olivia Benson, I don't know her real name, from Law and Order. Literally, like, so many people were in. Martha Hunt. There were a lot of her friends, almost all of her friends were in that music video. It was just like this fun way of including her friends into her work. And innocently, she was just like, here, you're tired of me talking about boys? Here's one of, like, me and my friends. And kind of representing how you and a friend have bad blood now. Which people think it's about Katy Perry. But that lore is just, like, I don't even understand it. So the media was saying that it's toxic and she's sharing too much of her life. And even though they said that she wasn't doing that enough. So again, she just can't win. This is also whenever she's dating towards like the endish of 1989 era. She's dating Calvin Harris, who is a musician, but like mainly like DJ kind of guy. Good music. But you know, it's weird because it's like, that's the time where she was the most public about her relationship. But we also like don't really know a lot. Like she hasn't really sung too much about that relationship. Like I don't really know how he treated her. I just know that, you know, they were posting on social media about each other more than she ever has in the past. Then she had some drama too with Nicki Minaj, where in 2015 when the VMA nominations came out, Nicki didn't get nominated for Video of the Year for Anaconda. Nicki tweeted and supposedly indirectly tweeted about Taylor saying, quote, if your video celebrates women with very slim bodies, you'll be nominated for Vid of the Year, with a bunch of blushing emojis, because Taylor got nominated for Shake It Off, which also got a bunch of hate too, because there was this one scene with like women of color like twerking in the video, but the whole thing is that it was like a satire song about like people making fun of her for dancing. And all of like the different clips, it was all a bunch of different types of dancing, and she's like trying to learn how to do ballet and interpretive dancing and contemporary, and she's just bad at all of it. So it's like just her making fun of herself. But then everyone was just had a fit about it. Then Taylor responded to the tweet saying, I've done nothing but love and support you. It's unlike you to pit women against each other. Maybe one of the men took your slot. Then Nicki responded, and turns out the tweet wasn't technically or supposedly about Taylor. And then Taylor later tweeted to Nicki and apologized. Then they performed The Night Is Still Young at the VMA show together. All is well. Things got settled out. Nicki replied to Taylor's apology and thanked her for apologizing. Everything's well. During this time, Taylor and Kanye kind of settled things privately. They're fine. They're friends. At one award show, there's a picture like Taylor and Kim took together. Like everything's fine. Then Taylor also posted on Instagram like this giant bouquet of flowers that Kanye had sent to her, and was like as a peace offering. Like everything's fine, you know, everything's fine in the world. And yeah, that's all that's really happening. Until fucking 2016, when if you were a Swiftie in July of 2016, you were in the trenches. You were fighting in a war that you didn't even sign up for. The infamous Kim Ye Swiftgate incident. Towards the end of the 1989 era, not much was going on. Like I said, everything was pretty much fine in the world. Kanye was working on his album at the time, and he was writing the song called Famous. So the first lyric, if you haven't ever heard that song, it literally opens up after Rihanna's part saying, I feel like me and Taylor might still have sex. I made that bitch famous. So whenever you name drop someone in a song, I don't know if it's legally you have to get their approval or it's just like a courtesy thing to do. But he called Taylor and said, like, I have this lyric, I feel like me and Taylor might still have sex. Like, are you okay with that? Then a video gets released whenever the song comes out. Because Taylor's like, she comes public with it and she's like, I tried dealing with this behind closed doors and I don't know what to do. He didn't ever tell me about that lyric, the I made that bitch famous. Turns out Kim illegally recorded the phone call, quote unquote, proving that Kanye did check in with Taylor, and the whole internet was just like, Taylor Swift is over. It's like that was like the worst. That was the height of cancel culture, I would argue. Besides 2020, that was also a scary time. However, nowhere in the video does Kanye say the line, I made that bitch famous. And so that's a big part, is whenever a man, or just anyone in general, who is also a big name, but just really in general, claims your fame and takes away all of your hard work, you're going to get pissed about that, because it's just like saying like, oh, I did this for you, like you didn't earn this. That's going to be a bit hurtful. Whenever she found out about that lyric, like I said, she went public with it because she tried to handle things privately first and then went public with it. Everyone, including Kim and literally probably millions of other people, were calling Taylor a snake and made hashtag TaylorSwiftIsOverParty trending on Twitter for a few days. It was a tough time, to say the least. I remember being a Swiftie in 2016 and just like fending for my life anytime Taylor Swift would come up, because it was just like, it was a popular thing to do, was to hate Taylor Swift. And it felt like everyone I talked to was like, oh, you're a Taylor Swift fan. Like, that's cringe. Like, what is going on? A few years later, literally within the last like couple years, I think, we ended up finding out that Taylor was telling the truth all along, and now Kim and Kanye are divorced, and he is a Trump-supporting anti-Semite and a terrible person. He's also very mentally ill. I want to point that out. Like, he needs psychiatric help. I am very aware of that. But he's also still just like not a good person, you know? During this time, a lot of celebrities also publicly supported Taylor. Beyonce and Jay-Z actually skipped Kim and Kanye's wedding to go to Taylor's birthday party, which I thought was just like a cute little thing to add in, because of the whole like him interrupting Taylor to support Beyonce, and Beyonce was like, no, you didn't need to do that. It's okay. You don't need to. It's all right. Just sit down. Like, cut it out. Selena Gomez tweeted during this time, there are more important things to talk about. Why can't people use their voices for something that fucking matters? Then Martha Hunt, who was in the Bad Blood music video, said it's pathetic how quick our culture is to sensationalize a fabricated story. However, there are some people in that music video that sided with Kim and Kanye, or just like were really quiet about it, or like didn't tweet at all, but like were liking tweets that definitely kind of made their case. I get not feeding into the drama, but Taylor Swift was literally on like a stake being burned during this time. Like, she was being publicly bullied with like death threats. Like, it was bad. It was so bad. But then there was other people that publicly supported Kim Kardashian and Kanye. Demi Lovato liking a tweet saying, I love Kim Kardashian, during the whole like hashtag Taylor Swift is over party was trending. Chris Brown, infamously a terrible person, commented on Taylor's Instagram post about when she like went public saying, I don't know what to do. Like, I didn't approve of this and this isn't true. He said, oh no, someone said something I don't like, ... ouch, my pussy hurt, period. Make music and shut the fuck up. So that doesn't surprise me. That's something Chris Brown said, though. That is just like unheard of behavior, to publicly comment that on someone's post as like a famous person, but just in general, is insane. Zendaya back then also kind of supported Kim's side by liking tweets about herself. Zendaya, like I said earlier, was in the Bad Blood music video. Her and Taylor were like friends. She was kind of in that friend group. Like, so you would think like you would maybe support your friend. But Zendaya liked tweets. It was a picture of her and the Taylor Swift's quote unquote squad on one picture, and then the other was a group of girls that I don't know who they were, but the tweet said, "My girl Zendaya knew better," kind of hinting at this transition that like she's no longer in that friend group. And then liked another tweet saying, "I'm glad Zendaya was never really down with that whole Taylor squad shit." So pretty much publicly like making it known that she's not on Taylor's side because no one was believing Taylor. So obviously you can imagine what that does to someone's mental health. Also during this time, whenever she was getting bullied online, Justin Bieber, who also dated Selena Gomez, aka one of Taylor Swift's closest friends, posted on Instagram a screenshot. It was Justin Bieber FaceTiming Scooter Braun and something else. I don't know. But like not being nice because the caption was like, "What's up, Taylor?" during this whole debacle. And so this is where, you know, those villain origin stories continue. She has a lot of them. So, naturally, she disappears for like 4 years. No one really heard her. No one saw her. She literally just like disappeared. And then after that 4 years, Reputation was born. She deleted everything on her social media. She turned off her comments on social media, still to this day. That's what it is. I mean, her website gone, her all of her tweets deleted, everything on Tumblr, everything on like literally everything that ever she posted in her past, gone, vanished. Then she posted these cryptic videos of a snake, in a couple of pictures, and we were like, "What's going on here?" And she was back, baby. Taylor was back. And it's funny because everyone was calling her a snake. But she took that and she ran with it and she made it her entire aesthetic for Reputation. Because she was like, okay, if I'm a snake, then I'm going to take this and I'm going to make millions of dollars off of it. And it worked. So she really didn't have a lot of promo going on with this. She didn't do interviews because she knew that if she did interviews, no one would be asking her about the music. Everyone would just want to know all the details about why she went into hiding, the Kim and Kanye debacle, and she didn't want to deal with that. So she literally did no promo for it. She just came out of nowhere and dropped her lead single, Look What You Made Me Do. Lyrically not her best, but it is insanely iconic. This album discusses many things. The transition from Calvin Harris to when she dated Tom Hiddleston for a hot minute, aka the Getaway Car song, truly an iconic song. And also the beginnings, like the beginning of her relationship with Joe Alwyn, who she dated for 6 years, and talking about their time in privacy and getting to know each other and how scary that can be. And also just like getting to know his friends and his family and how he has a more quiet life. And he's an actor, but he is more like not as like well known. When she started dating him, everyone found out. We were all like, who is this person? So this is where we get Delicate, Dress, So It Goes, Endgame, Gorgeous, King of My Heart, New Year's Day, Call It What You Want. Truly amazing songs that felt like different compared to things that she had talked about in the past. She also kind of dives in a little bit with the whole Kimye drama, aka Look What You Made Me Do. This is why we can't have nice things. And then later in other albums, like Midnights. Reputation marked the end of her time in privacy at Big Machine Records and also finally claiming her name. So this was the last album that she made with Big Machine Records. I'm trying to think. I might want to do 2 parts of this because we're getting towards the 50-minute mark, and we still have a lot to discuss about the re-recordings, the Taylor's version, Taylor and Joe, and where she is now. So I think I'm going to stop it right here, and we are going to talk about the re-recordings and what she's doing now and why she's like re-releasing all of her albums and what that means. So that's all of her lore up until Reputation. The second half of this is equally as important because it's really she's like redefining her career and her success, and she's like completely done a 180 in terms of her status among the masses and how people view her. So if that sounds interesting to you, please stick back next week where I will be doing a part 2 of this Taylor Swift crash course. And I appreciate you listening. And I swear to God, this is me checking to make sure my boyfriend is still listening. If you are still listening, text me the word baguette, just so I know that you really listened to the whole thing. So I will talk to you guys next week, and we will continue this conversation. And so you can really just get the whole Taylor Swift experience. So I'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.